Well, hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to So What, the Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. I am Katie, joined by Chris.
Hello.
Hello.
John's not here. I can't high five anyone.
I know, and I
I mean, I could, but
refuse.
it's weird.
I won't do it. It's not what I do. John is in the wild somewhere. He's off running road races and doing silly summer things and taking a much needed break. So we will hear from John again next week. But this week, we are talking about using your ICP, your ideal customer profile, to align your services. If you are curious about how to put together an ideal customer profile and different use cases, you can go to our YouTube channel, trustinsights.ai/YouTube, and go to our So What playlist. And we have done quite a few episodes about building ICPs, using them. And this week is no different. What we're finding, Chris, is that there's really no shortage of things you can do for your business once you have your ideal customer profile put together in such a way that you can brainstorm with it, you can bounce ideas off of it, you can iterate with it, you can say, what am I missing? What am I doing? Am I addressing pain points? So this week, one of the things that was on my to-do list, and now we're going to do it on the show live, was to realign our services. So we're not changing our service offerings, but we're realigning the messaging so that it's clearer to our ideal customers what the heck it is we do and how we can help them, how their problems can be solved by us. So where would you like to start?
Gosh, where would you like to start on this? Because we obviously have an ICP,
Yep.
and we have, of course, no shortage of AI tools, and
Mhm.
we have no shortage of services pages and stuff on our website. We will walk through how you will actually do this, but I guess
Mhm.
from a big picture perspective, uh, what's the general process that you want to use for tackling this?
So definitely starting with the 5 Ps is, probably 100% of the time where you should start because it gives you a focus and a sense of direction. So the purpose of realigning our services on our website with our ICP is to basically increase the traffic to these pages. When I think about sort of the measurement, like we want to increase the traffic to these pages, but we also, as the CEO, I want to align my services pages with my ICP so that I sell more things, so that I increase revenue, so that the number of people contacting us about our services increases. So, I want to increase contact form fills. I want to increase revenue. I want to increase sales qualified leads in the pipeline. So, very, very tactical, measurable things. But the big picture is that I want it to be easier for people to know what it is we sell. Chris, one of the things that we have heard a lot over the years is, I don't know how to sell you, or I don't know what you do. And I don't know about you, but it's always been a point of frustration for me. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean you don't know what we do? Look at all of our clients. And then was like, okay, what are you doing for them? Well, we're fixing their data. Well, what does that mean? And so it sort of became this like, because we're so close to it, it's hard to articulate. But now we have an ideal customer profile, which is a stand in for our customers. It is not a replacement for talking to people, for talking to our audience, but it is a real time. We can iterate with it without bothering our audience and our customers for every little thing that we need. And we can say, this is what we do. Where are we getting it wrong? How would you know how to buy from us if you saw this? And without even doing the alignment reporting, I'm guessing the answer is no, because this is just a bunch of words.
It is a bunch of words, but more importantly, I think having that very clear intent definitely helps to say, like, this is what a services page, which is a landing page, what it should do, right? It should
Mhm,
inform, and then it should persuade to say, hey,
mhm,
you probably want to reach out to us to buy the thing, as opposed to, say, our blog posts, which are mostly informational, like, hey, here's something you might want to know. So differentiating between educational intent and sales intent is a big part of this.
Mhm.
Now, the ICP gives us essentially a virtual customer, which is, as you mentioned, super helpful. So the first thing we would probably want to do is pick a page and understand how it serves our ICP now, what they think of it in its present state before we dig into future state. So, of all of the different pages here, which one do you want to start with? We'll just start digging in.
I mean, the big thing, I think, our bread and butter is marketing strategy. So I know this is sort of my own sort of insider baseball. I know our AI consulting services pages needs a lot of work, but for the purposes of this live stream, there's a lot of content on our marketing strategy services pages that I feel is going to make for a better episode of the live stream. We have to do
Okay.
the other ones anyway, but this one I feel good about in terms of there's enough data on it.
Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the page content. AI tools, at least the ones that we're going to be using, even if they could read the page, I don't trust they're going to read the right information on the page, because every page has things like navigation. Some pages have ads. Some pages have things like pop-ups saying, hey, do you consent to tracking? And all of that are irrelevant words.
Mhm.
One of the things that AI is very sensitive to, even with today's state-of-the-art models, is relevant words, right? We always say to people, the more relevant specific words you use, the better they'll perform. If you're vacuuming up all the data on a page, you're going to get some irrelevant words.
Mhm.
So we need that. We will need a copy of our ICP. Now, I'm storing in a text file, but obviously you can use Google Drive. You can use whatever. We're also going to be using Google's Gemini, the developer version, because it gives me more control. But again, this is something you can do with ChatGPT, with Anthropic Claude, with the consumer version of Gemini. It doesn't matter. Any large foundation model will do. One other question I had for you, Katie, is this. What is our corporate tone of voice and writing style?
Hmm. I I would say it's similar to what we have structured for Katie GPT, with taking out some of the casualness. So I would say you could use Katie GPT. So, for those who aren't aware, we've built out system instructions to mirror my writing style. And so it has, tone, clarity, audience awareness, conversational, approachable. I think all of that holds up because, for better or worse, Chris, you and I are the corporate brand. And, you know, I think that my writing style is not that actually, it's not that far off from yours. We just write about different things. So I feel like this is a good stand in for the corporate tone, because if I'm not representing the company correctly, what the heck am I even doing?
Just drinking your cold brew.
I am. I got my cold brew today. It's very nice.
All right, so we've got our writing style, we've got our page content, we've got our ICP. Let's go into Gemini. Let's go ahead and start a new prompt. One other thing that we'll probably want to have handy would perhaps be a way to understand whether or not um, a product or service is a good fit for the ICP. And there's a bunch of
Mhm.
different ways to do this. One of my favorite ways to do this is to have the model build the prompt for us. So I'm going to put in our system instructions, which basically, if you're not familiar, the Trust Insights pair framework is what we're using for this. And I'm going to, let's make sure our safety settings are off, because I like to live dangerously. And we're going to say, your topic today is best practices for determining product market fit for a management consulting firm's service offering. Now, what's going to happen here is that the pair framework is going to direct Google Gemini to essentially say, what are the best practices? And it's going to spit out what those best practices are. And then after it goes to the best practices, it is going to then say, what are the things that people do wrong when they're doing product market fit, right? So here's mistakes people made. Here's a familiar one: failing to clearly communicate value, relying on outdated assumptions. Let's debunk some myths. If you build it, they will come. A great network guarantees success. Hidden truths. The best marketing is delivering exceptional results. Expert secrets. So this is a pretty good mix of what you would want to do to assess product market fit.
Mhm.
Now, that is part one. The next step is to take this collection of discussion points and have our language model build a scoring rubric. So a scoring rubric is one of those very fancy, specialized terms. What a scoring rubric does is it asks a model not just to say, hey, this is good or bad, because there's no transparency there. There's no understanding that we even know what the model is doing. Instead, we're just kind of hoping that AI is doing the thing for us. When you build a scoring rubric, you're basing it on all those conversation points, but you're asking the model as it evaluates something, hey, score each piece. Tell me how you're thinking about each piece. It's a way to get the model to talk about what's going on, to show its work, to explain itself. So we're going to have this lovely scoring rubric here. Now, we've got this chat session, if we will, pre-populate with best practices and with a scoring rubric. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to provide it with our ICP. I'm going to provide it with that page content and have it evaluate product market fit against the market, our ICP, and score it. So what entertain the masses while I get this set up.
Well, so while this, for us is a little bit of a humbling exercise, to be showing everybody like we know our alignment for our product market fit and our ICP is probably off, and that's why we're fixing it. But what I really like about this is that we're showing everybody that, it's possible and that we're not doing anything, wild or paying like tens of thousands of dollars to, a external research firm to tell us what we already know. We already know. We just want to fix it. We want to do better so that we can reach more people. And it really comes from the foundation of knowing who your ideal customer is. Because the trap that I run into is thinking that I can represent the ideal customer, but I'm still an N of 1. And so as well-rounded as I feel that my understanding is, I'm missing a lot of things, and I also have biases, whether conscious or unconscious, as to what I think they want. And so by having an ideal customer profile that you can interact with, it basically takes me out of the equation and just gives me the facts and says, well, this is what your ideal customer needs. These are the pain points. This is what you have to deliver to reach them. And so what I think they want is taken out. And I think that that's been incredibly helpful as we have been, developing these ICPs for ourselves, but also for our clients. And if you want to learn more about our ICP service, you can reach us at trustinsights.ai/contact, because we do develop these, as a service offering, which again, it's not on our website. That's a huge miss. Here we are.
So our assessment is this page scores a 78. So that's a C. I mean, it's okay. It's not
That's
great.
actually better than I thought it would be.
Well, you picked this page because some of our other pages are so in need
It's
of
going to
help
have a D or an F.
Right, exactly. So we have strengths: strong niche focus, value proposition clarity, leveraging expertise. Areas for improvement: deeper ICP tailoring, quantified value and differentiation, client-centric language. And then if you look, this breaks down the individual scores from each section of our scoring rubric. This is where you, as the person, as the marketer, can go, our understanding of client needs, that's scored the lowest in this section. So our writing on that is not particularly great. Market validation scores of 8 or above. That's not bad. Client-centric approach, 7 out of 10. We didn't do so hot there. And so it now says, here's some additional recommendations. So already we have a very good x-ray of this page's content and go, all right, it looks like we got some work to do. So our next step would be to say, well, okay, taking into account all this, what would a revised page look like? So we're actually going to ask the question, say, taking into account all of the recommendations and the ICP, create a refinement of this page's content that incorporates as many of the recommendations as possible while still remaining actually accurate. Because we've had experiences where Gemini has very helpfully created things that don't exist. We had that happen the other day. It's like, hey, here's a great case study. We're like, we never did that.
Yeah, and I was, here's the thing. It sounded really credible. And I was like, "Did we do that? Wait a minute." And we had to go back and look, and it's like, "Oh, that's a total hallucination." But the way that it was written with such authority, and it was using Katie GPT, that I was like, "Wait a minute. Am I just forgetting?" So, and it is really important that you can do that fact checking because it can be really convincing, hilariously convincing.
Exactly. So this has come up with a new version of the page. Our next task is to say, great, score this refinement using the same rubric. Because after all, what's the point of a new AI version if the new AI version isn't any better than the original one?
Mhm.
So this one came through, it came up at the 90. So we went from a C to an A minus. That's better.
That's an improvement for
That's an
sure.
improvement. Um, the big ones are things like the client-centric approach. So let's take a look at this copy here and see what it come with
Mhm.
now, knowing that this scored an A minus. Already the language is different. You can see how it is much more you, the audience, focused, not us and how awesome we are. So this set of updates reads better in terms of just the copy alone.
Mhm.
However, one interesting question to ask is, do the services themselves best fit what the ideal customer's needs and pain points are? Or are there additional related services that we should be offering in this landing page's categories of services? So this is now going into true product market fit, not just rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic, if you will, but asking the legitimate question, are there things that we're not doing that we should be doing that our ICP would find very valuable? So
Mhm.
things like CDP, strategy and implementation. We actually have a fair amount of experience with CDPs. We've implemented Snowplow. We've done work with Treasure Data, and those
Mhm.
are some things that yeah, could be on here. I mean, we've talked about our CDP strategic framework in past newsletters. It's probably time to put that on the page.
Mhm.
Marketing automation, optimization, data governance, and compliance for marketers. I mean, that should
It's
probably be
kind of the
there.
core of what we do.
AI powered content strategy and creation.
Eee.
Hmm.
Man, this is humbling. But in a good way.
hmm Exactly. The good news is that these adjacent services are all capabilities we have experience with. For CDPs, we have our own framework for strategic implementation. The framework authenticate, augment, activate. And we have extensive experience with marketing automation tools such as HubSpot, Pardot, Marketo, Mautic, etc. Let's see, what's the third one? We have decades of experience in data governance and compliance, especially in highly regulated industries such as pharmaceuticals. And we are the world's leading experts in AI in marketing. Here are the bios of our two principals, which can inform the copy of the landing page in terms of capabilities. So now let's go over to our team page and let's vacuum up our team. With this new information, revise our page copy, including the recommended but omitted services. So let's see how the software will now infer additional stuff and make this page as good as it can be.
What I like
Did you?
about this too is that, I mean, we've I've experienced this and we've talked with others where it's so easy to help someone else, but when you have to talk about yourself and your contributions, you kind of like, I mean, I do stuff and it's like it's easy to forget all of the things like nowhere in here is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're really strong in data governance." Like, oh yeah, that's probably a big thing that should be like front and center because
Mm-hmm.
and we know for people who are looking to do AI integration, data governance is a big part of that. So they probably want to know what's involved and that we actually have a lot of experience doing it. Um, what's interesting is there are, I don't know if it would fall under branding experts or consultants or copywriters or all of the above, this is not a knock at people who do those things for a living. What I like about this is I'm not looking to overhaul our brand. We know who we are, we know what we do. What we need is just a little bit of a nudge in the right direction to make sure that all of the content, all of the experience, all of the things that we know we do well are just packaged up in a little bit more of a focused way. So I'm not opposed to outside help getting this stuff, but we're also not in a place where we're so stuck in this is how it has to be that we need to bring in that outside help to get us unstuck.
Exactly. Let's take a look. The final score for this page, 97 out of 100.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
so we
pretty
went from a
good.
78 to a 97. Our report card is doing better. Seamless expert integration, areas for minor refinement, subtle case study hints if possible. And then, of course, it goes through the whole scoring thing. So we now have this brand new page that contains the existing services, but
Mhm.
also has the ones that are missing. And here's a question for you: language check. When you read that copy, how does it feel to you?
Um, you're assuming I can read things that are that tiny, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to get back to you on that one. So let's see. With decades of experience in highly regulated industries, including pharmaceuticals, we help you navigate the complex world of data privacy. Oh, it went away. I
yeah. Hang on, I'm,
okay.
I'm making it larger.
I'm like, where did it go?
There you go.
Led by our CEO, a recognized authority in data governance compliance, we will work with you to ensure marketing campaigns are not only effective but also ethical and compliant, protecting both you and your customers. What's interesting is that is all correct. That is all the way that it probably should be. I personally would never write it that way because to me, it's funny. And this, not to get too deep into my own psyche, but I'm like, why do we have to brag so hard? Like that's sort of where I get stuck. But obviously, that's the whole point of a services page is to brag about your accomplishments, your experience. And so for me, that's my disconnect because I'm not comfortable doing that. So this is a great exercise. So as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like the CDP, struggling with fragmented data. Yep, our unique AAA framework provides a proven roadmap for selecting, implementing, and maximizing. It will help. Like, that's, yeah. Okay, now I know what I'm buying. Like, that's exactly what it's meant to do. What I need to know, and I don't know if we can figure this out because now my competitive streak has kicked in. What is that 3% that we're missing that would get us to 100?
The areas where we're missing a point. We are missing 1 point on market demand and opportunity, 2 points on alignment with firm capabilities, but we need a case study of some kind on that page that's linked in that can say, hey, look at how awesome we are. Those are the 3 points.
Mm,
And the good news is we do have case studies for this stuff. It's just not on this page. So we can certainly
right.
include that. Hey,
Mhm.
click this link to go check out our case study on this. And then that would get us to 99.
Well, in terms of market demand and opportunity, effectively implies strong market demand, adding a concise, data-driven statement about the growing importance of CDP strategy. I mean, that ties in nicely with being able to construct, interactive ICPs. If you have that's sort of the, not to get too off topic, but a CDP is essentially a mega ICP. It's a mega ideal customer profile because a CDP is meant to be that, what is it? The central data, the customer data platform for centralizing all of your data. And so if you can figure out how to make a, centralized CDP, you can understand better your customer behaviors. And so, I mean, yeah, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants that. So yeah,
A
there's
single
plenty of
view of the
market demand.
customer, 360-degree view of the customer, and all those wonderful terms. Although there's actually this really brand new stupid thing called the composable CDP, which is basically a CDP in reverse. Yeah, it's topic for another time.
All
Um,
right, moving on.
that said, this page is now in reasonably good condition. However, the one thing that we have not asked our software to do yet is to come up with the kinds of search terms that we would want to include on
Mhm.
this page to make sure that they're there. So let's ask that of our ICPs using our ICP as a reference. What 2 to 5 word phrases would our ICP search for that would naturally lead them to this page? Focus on words and phrases that indicate intent, high intent to purchase. An example would be recommended CDP vendors or recommended AI consultants as high intent terms. Low intent terms would be informational terms like what is a CDP or what is AI that indicate the ICP is in a very early stage of the process and would not need our services yet. So let's see what it comes up with. So we have a nice, there's some location based stuff. So we have
Mhm.
pain point focused, proving marketing ROI, marketing mix modeling services, and things like that. So those are pretty decent. We would then want to take this into a traditional SEO keyword tool and make sure that that we validate them, that like there actually is search volume for this sort of thing.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this we're actually faring better than I thought. Um, one of the things that I feel just about our services pages in general is, despite our best efforts to sort of clean up and streamline them, there's still a lot of information, so there's like 5 or 6 different sections of services. And, not for this live stream because it would be a lot of work, but I think the direction that we should go, but this would be a question for the ICP, is, Should we just have one page with everything, or, all of I think the fact that we have people clicking into things and then clicking in and levels and layers is probably also preventing the ease of use. And so I bring that up because I know for other clients and for other projects, we've built website scoring rubrics that basically say, like, how's the ease of use of your website? Like, is it any good? And so I feel like that would be phase two. Like, phase one, do this, rebuild your services pages based on the feedback from your ICP. Phase two, go back to your large language model and build a scoring rubric for how good the page is in terms of ease of use. And it sort of becomes that 360 solution of, you're not just addressing the pain points, but you're also making the page something that somebody can actually get to and read.
Mm-hmm. You could do that. You could also uh, use the ICP and use the information to just up level the usability period, to say, because we're doing this with another client. I am a, CMO, CTO, whatever. I need to do this. Basically, you would be following this format, right?
Mhm.
I am this. I want to do this, and then instead of the so that, it would basically just bounce someone correctly to the page that you want them to go to. I'm a CMO. I need to get a CDP implemented. How do I do that? Boom, you go to the CDP page, right? Because if you use the language that your real customers or your synthetic customers are using, it shortcuts accessibility stuff by saying, look, here's what you're looking for, right? If we know the words and phrases that you're going to use, we can create navigation that is customer centric to say, this is where you probably want to be. And if this isn't, then we weren't clear and we didn't do a good enough job anticipating what your needs were. Maybe our ICP needs some refinement because we don't have the right needs and the right pain points.
And I think you hit upon the exact reason we're doing this. It needs to be customer centric. All of us get into this trap of thinking we know what the customer wants. And we started the episode, with this statement is like, we think we can represent the customer, but we're still injecting ourselves into it. And while it's the customer who buys our services that we provide, it's about them and what they need, not what we have to offer them at that time. It's what problems are they having? And making that mindset shift is really difficult sometimes. So having this ICP to work with that can give you that mindset shift to say, "No, give me the point of view from the customer, not from my point of view of what I think they want," is so powerful. And I'm still giddy about being able to do this because, you know, I love, market research, and I love, focus groups. Those can be expensive, those can be labor intensive, and they can be just not the timeline for getting the feedback maybe just isn't as efficient as you need it to be. And I'm so in love with being able to use these proxy ideal customer profiles to do this kind of stuff, to keep it customer centric.
And speaking of which, if you want to be customer centric, and maybe you don't have all of the pieces that you would need to construct an ICP, there is a backdoor way to get to that. And this is going to be really interesting because this is going to be a contrast to what we know our ICP is. So I'm going to save this because otherwise you're going to ask me about it in 20 minutes. I'm
I
going to say I
am
did save
100%.
it. I'm going to start a new prompt, and let's just make sure our safety settings are non-existent. And I'm going to say, today we're going to construct an ideal customer profile, ICP, based on what our customers think we do. The information that will comprise this will be search terms for which our customers already find our website. We have no additional information, which is not true, no additional information other than these terms from Google Search Console. Infer the demographics, firmographics, needs, pain points, goals, and motivations of our customers from this search data. So essentially, we're going to build an ICP in reverse. This is not the best way to do this, to be clear. This is kind of a backdoor way of getting at it. But if you are a marketer and you have absolutely positively no other data, which we've run into the situation where a team has just no other information, this will be a reflection of that. Now, what will be very interesting is if this data paints a different ICP than the one we know about. So let's go ahead and get this rolling here. That's unhelpful. All right, let's. I have attached the data.
That is, I do that a lot as well. It happens.
I was really having a hard time with that. What? Oh, let's try moving up. Oh, wait. I know what the issue is. As stupid as it is, I have to provide the prompt first and then the data file. Order matters.
I can see that.
Yep. There we go. All right. Demographics, tech savvy, strongest AI professionals, English speaking, potentially global, no geographic information. Firmographics, B2B focus, marketing driven, varied size. Needs, data analysis, insight, marketing optimization, AI and automation, training, development, competitive intelligence, pain points, data silos and quality, keeping up with technology, content creation challenges, lack of resources, inefficient marketing processes, goals, improve marketing ROI, data-driven making, drive business growth, motivations, career advancement, professional recognition, business success, key takeaways, content strategy, service offerings. So that's cool, right? We got our I guess it's not ideal. It's actual customer profile from our search data. Let's say this. Great. Next, I'm going to provide our known ICP. Compare and contrast it with the Google Search Console data ICP you created. So let's do a little bit of comparison and see how what we came up with using a bunch of different data sources compares to just search data alone.
Yeah. Well, and we did something similar a few weeks back. And again, you can find that on our YouTube channel, trustinsights.ai/YouTube, at our So What playlist, where we took a look at our actual customer profile based on what was in our CRM and compared it and aligned it with our ideal customer profile. And this, what I like is this is another version of that, because who our ideal customer profile is may not be who we're attracting to our website. And therefore, that's where we need to realign our services, which all full circle makes sense.
It says the Google Search Console data largely validates the existing ICP. It has a potentially broader market beyond the current ICP, including smaller businesses, which is we know is true from a subject matter perspective, not true from a can you afford our fees perspective. Content strategy is good. Service diversification, we might want to offer smaller businesses, which we do to some degree. I mean, we have, for example, a course that people can take if they want to self-serve on this stuff. And then geographic targeting, continue monitoring. But this tells us based on, and this is kind of should be somewhat reassuring to you, Katie, what's on our website is not so wildly different from our ICP that the wrong people are finding us. And we're being known for the wrong things.
That is reassuring. Because, getting a 70% score on our services pages is kind of like, oh, well, we're missing a lot of people. But this validates like, okay, maybe we're actually doing maybe better. And of course, my first thought is, well, we should probably update our ICP with our Google Search Console data as well.
Yep, we could definitely include that. Though I think there's a case to be made that who is your ideal and who is your actual. You may not want to blend those two data sets because you may
Yeah,
not have the right actual customers.
that's true. And so, it's all really interesting, sort of the, what is it, fiction versus reality of, a company like us, like Chris, you're looking at 2/3 of the company, and we have a lot of control over who we want to be serving, who our audience is. But when you get to those larger enterprise-sized companies where you're farther removed from who's actually needing your services versus who you want to be serving, these tools become even more essential to bring you back to a grounded place of what's actually happening. Because again, like, your company is so big, you have so many different business units that getting that market research, getting that customer feedback just might not be a good use of time. It may be expensive, it may be a cost center that you just can't afford right now. So having these kinds of tools to stand in as a proxy is going to be really helpful to, refocus and, redirect your efforts. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about it. Not because I created it, but because it's just so incredibly useful. Okay, because I created it, but also because what I've seen happen since it was put together is how it's already for us become so integrated into everything we do, and how many use cases we've been able to come up with and demonstrate on the live stream for our clients of, and this is what you can do when you have it. And I love stuff like that.
It solves a fundamental marketing problem. And the fundamental marketing problem is this: how often do you talk to customers? Right? Most marketers, the answer is we don't. We don't go and have lunch with customers. We don't conduct focus groups. Even in companies that do that, they have a market research division that doesn't necessarily talk to marketing. So having an ideal customer profile that is a synthetic entity in AI derived from real data means that now marketers can talk to customers. So one of the things that I think is a key takeaway for the use of an ICP is, what would you talk to a customer about? Right? If you had unlimited amounts of time and budget, what would you talk to a customer about? Use a synthetic customer like this to do that so that you are at least getting some level of feedback.
It's a great reason to put together some user stories. As the CEO, I want to talk to my customers so that, as the chief data scientist, I want to talk to my customers so that, because Chris, you and I may have very different reasons for wanting to talk to our customers. I want to know, are they happy with what we're doing? Are they, getting services provided? You may want to know, their maturity in terms of using certain tools or analytics techniques. Very different, but all important. And so you can use that as your starting point for building your ideal customer profile to say, can I answer this question with that?
Exactly. So to wrap up, the process is, you need an ideal customer profile first. That's
Mhm.
important. Then you need to use the pair framework to build out the knowledge base of what it is you're trying to do product market fit for. You need to then construct a scoring rubric from that knowledge base. Then you can start feeding in your content. Say, here's the content, here's the ICP, here's a scoring rubric, sort of the three parts of a three-legged stool. The tools can then infer what the intersection of those things are and tell you, hey, this content is off base or on base compared to what we know as best practices for product market fit and what we know the ideal customer wants. If you do those practices, you will be able to create content that resonates better. If you think about it, even before we asked the question about search terms, the content that it created was rich with the language that you would expect a good SEO person to come up with, because it's customer centric. It's what the customer is after. So I would strongly encourage folks to follow the steps that we've done in this live stream. If you want help with building that ICP, we've got, we're certainly happy to do that. Stop by and say hi. But any parting words, Katie?
I mean, I think if you don't have the bandwidth, the resources, the means, the skills to get direct access to your audience and your customers, I think an ICP is, a really great stand-in. But if you do want to talk to actual people like myself and Chris, you can join our Slack community, free Slack community, Analytics for Marketers, where we talk about a lot of this stuff. And I think that having that balance of talking with people in real life and having your large language models is a really good balance to strike.
It is. So next week, Katie and John will be holding down the fort. I'll be on a plane. But so we will see you all next time.
Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.